already understand that your body recognizes what's going on. If you've come here for a healing, this is when it will occur. And it won't be from me or this chair or the apparition on my right. It'll come from you. The divinity inside you is tuned to the new energy, dear ones. The divinity inside you knows what is going on the planet, dear ones. Old soul, you have waited for this time. Young person, you're going to inherit a planet that is far different than your parents did. And the energy is afoot for you to start understanding what is before the light worker. I'll call this one the recalibration of self, not to be confused with the recalibration of humanity or the human being, of self, the core of you. Energy is very difficult to define or explain. Often when you talk about energy, it is that which pulsates linearly through the wires in a double-phase system, which is your electricity. And that's not what we're talking about. Energy is not singular information. Energy is not three-dimensional, not the kind we speak of. It is a multi-dimensional attribute all around you of a confluence of earth and consciousness. And it brings about that which you call manifestation. You are born in a certain energy. We speak of the grids of a planet in a certain energy. And it's not well defined. You may walk into a room and say, well, the energy does not feel good here today. And then another day you'll walk in and you'll say, wow, did you feel the energy today? You can even use the word to mean positive and negative things. And so how would you ever define energy? We will say this, what I'm about to give you in the lessons is to say that the energy that you are used to on the earth, whatever that means to you, that you live in, that you work in, that you meditate in, that you worship in, is changing. And this affects what you consider to be normal. And so if we could give you any kind of a measurement, we would say, expect normal to change. And that's hard. For the human being survives knowing where normal is. You have to know. You have to know. For you to walk from A to B, you expect certain things. The air you breathe, the gravity you have, the magnetics that your cells depend upon in the grid. What if I told you that many of those things won't be the same? And the only thing you are aware of as a human being is that it feels different. So let us start by talking about these things which feel different. Here is an example of a recalibration. It's a summary of what we've given before not long ago regarding the grids. We told you that the crystalline grid of this planet, an esoteric, invisible, multidimensional attribute, was changing. We told you what it was. It is the memory of humanity. The crystalline grid is therefore linked to Gaia and responsible for that which you call portals and that which you call dark energy, even in spots where war has been, for it reflects a memory of what humans have done. That's the crystalline. That's why it's called the crystalline. We told you that. Because the metaphor of anything crystalline is that it holds vibration. And so imagine a grid around the planet that remembers what humans have done. Therefore, in those places which don't feel good, you will have had war upon war, battlefields that you would rather not walk into, light worker, for you feel the misery of death, of fear, of anxiousness. And it stays in the land, and you know it does. Just like there are portals of healing and joy, of what my partner even calls the womb of Gaia, a place where you can go and bathe in the thickness of what the crystalline grid has created that you will put there. And we told you something amazing. We said that human beings are responsible for posturing that grid. What happens to humans is remembered, and the energy goes into the grid accordingly. We told you that there is an attribute that you have figured out, that it must be linear. That is to say, the more bad things happen in one spot, the worse it's going to be. The better the spot, well, the better things happen. And that is a linear remembrance. And we say, how linear of you. For that's not the way it is. For up to this time, dear ones, the earth has remembered non-linearly. Where those have died, where there's been great suffering, the earth remembers it a lot more than the birth of a child. It's responsible for what you call hauntings and ghosts and all of those things, the apparitions that are playing the tapes in the same way. That's the crystalline grid.
Dear brothers and sisters, indeed I'm very happy.
But what does happiness mean to a Buddhist such as the Dalai Lama?
I usually describe happiness in the sense more satisfaction. Happiness not necessarily some pleasures of experience, but neutral sort of experience can bring deep satisfaction.
In your experience, what makes you truly happy?
I believe, the peace of mind. That peace of mind also should come firstly from heartiness. That, I think, reduce ill feeling towards others and also reduce this sort of distrust. I always open. I never consider myself as something special. If I consider myself something different from you, like I'm Buddhist, even more, I'm His Holiness Dalai Lama. Or even if you consider I'm Nobel laureate, then actually you create yourself as a prisoner. I forget these things. I simply consider I'm one of the 7 billion. We are mentally, emotionally, intellectually, we are sane.
A point he rather inadvertently proved through an unexpected story about gas.
When in aeroplane, sometimes this gas problem comes, then you see, difficult to let out. So occasionally, you see, look around, that, like that. It's the ultimate source of satisfaction within ourselves. If you do wrong things, mainly harming others, you get negative consequences. If you do helping others, bring more happiness to others, you get benefit. More inner strength there, and more sort of confidence of purpose of life and fulfillment about that purpose, then you always feel happy. When we are young, very much sort of alive, these inner values. And we've grown up, particularly the society where not much talking about these values. Only talks when we read newspaper or television, sports or money, a number of dollars, like that. And all the advertising, some because of the material values. No one telling, no one sort of explaining the importance of warm-heartedness.
Despite this, he says there is a lot to be happy about if we only look in the right places.
Early part of 20th century, later part of 20th century, much positive change took place. I think world, yes, there is a lot of crisis, a lot of bad things, but also is a lot of good things.
And yet, we have been taught to fear anyone and everyone, a reality, he says, that is impacting one of the fundamentals of human happiness.
So, we are a social animal. Therefore, friendship is very essential. Friendship comes trust. Fear and trust go contradiction. More fear there cannot trust. With fear, how can develop friendship?
It's little wonder then that loneliness has become the #1 cause of depression in the West.
And a big city, a lot of people, but just think oneself, self-centered attitude, and no idea, no sense of love. Then too much competitive sense. Then jealousy. Jealousy brings distrust. Distrust brings frustration. So therefore, and fear. Then the lonely feeling automatically comes. So lonely feeling is not creation of environment, but creation of your own mental attitude.
But the thought leader says there is hope if only we could seek a slightly different goal.
I think eventually we can develop more deeper sort of experience about our life. Make some pledge. Now on, I must make a new person. Same body, but new person.
I have to thank you so much. I have learned much from you. I have learned from, for instance, that we're all on the same road.
Yes.
With the ultimate goal. But we're all different families.
And also same experience of gas.
I don't think I'll ever forget this day.